Anti-War Committee 2 years ago and has proven herself a leader in that group. She is one of our leading figures in the campaign against Boeing. The Anti-War Committee's campaign against Boeing really did make Boeing a social question, where people were questioning about how a corporation that manufactures weapons that slaughter Palestinians and also make drones that kill people abroad should really be existing when schools in Chicago are being shut down, where there's mental health clinics being shut down. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Holly.
Thank you, and thank you to all the other panelists. I'm very honored to be with you here today. Attack is the secret of defense. Defense is the planning of an attack. These are some wise words from Sun Tzu's The Art of War, explaining the kind of singular nature and dual necessity of attack and defense. We saw this relationship unfold most recently during Israel's Operation Protective Edge, which was launched this summer against the people of Gaza and lasted for 51 days. In solidarity with the resistance in Palestine, activists in the US launched attacks against the enemy targets here at home, Zionism and US imperialism. While not actually in the front lines of the siege or Israel's occupation, we still have an important duty to not only defend Palestine and support the fight for liberation, but also to wage our own war here against the politicians, corporations, and the organizations that invest their massive political and economic support in that apartheid state. Here in Chicago, our targets became Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the Friends of the IDF, the Israeli consulate, and of course, the Boeing company. Boeing was an obvious target not just because it's a local weapons manufacturer, but also in due part because of the campaign that the Anti-War Committee has been waging against it for the last 2 years that has involved many anti-war, faith, community, and social justice organizations here in Chicago. So I just want to briefly outline that campaign's development for you guys and to also talk about how it became focused on Boeing as a BDS target during Israel's most recent siege on Gaza. So the Anti-War Committee formed in 2012 by some of the organizers of the NATO protests that brought thousands of people out into the streets of Chicago. AWC chose Boeing as a target for a number of reasons. The first being, obviously, it's local. It was here, so we could actually affect it directly. They moved their headquarters here from Seattle in 2001. Secondly, its role in the drone industry. It's one of the big players. It's been a huge pioneer of that technology, especially the development of combat drones. And third reason, it is a powerful supporter and weapons supplier for Israel, and actually works directly with the Israeli government and the IDF to develop weapons and defense systems. In 2012, when Israel launched Operation Pillar of Defense, the AWC rallied at Boeing HQ to protest the sale of depleted uranium bombs to the IDF. Depleted uranium, you probably have heard, causes birth defects, cancer, massive environmental destruction, and is also pretty dubiously legal under international law. In the last 2 years, the campaign has mostly focused on Boeing as a drone manufacturer. We've had a long-running campaign to stop Boeing from getting the multi-billion-dollar Navy contract to build a new combat drone, for which they've been developing the Phantom Ray for a number of years. We've also emphasized Boeing's notorious tax dodging, comparing the billions that they make in profits every year with the $0 that they continue to pay in state and federal taxes, money which we could really use here in Chicago. And last year we also started running one of our very own committee members, Kate McIntyre here, for Boeing's board of directors. Although she was disqualified, technically, she still continues to demand that Boeing cease its war profiteering and give back to Chicago, the city which pays for its million-dollar tax breaks. So, when Israel actually launched Operation Protective Edge this summer, Boeing quickly emerged as a BDS target, boycott, divestment, and sanctions target. It was actually included on SJP's national call-in list, which went out soon after the siege began on July 8th. On July 16th, after a vigil honoring the victims of the siege, many of whom were children, AWC led a direct action with JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, and SJP chapters in Chicago, in which 5 activists, including 3 members of our committee, Newland Smith, Kate McIntyre, Joe Osbaker, were arrested at Boeing for refusing to leave the building. They were wearing blood-splattered shirts. There was a crowd of us outside chanting, supporting them, causing a big scene. And there was actually a pretty militant escalation of our Boeing campaign, and also the first in a series of direct actions that happened across the country throughout the duration of the siege, which attacked Boeing's complicity in the civilian deaths in Gaza. That action was actually pointed to as an example of what US activists should be doing, i.e. targeting weapons manufacturers, by Palestinian resistance and civil society groups. Next, we held a press conference at the City Council meeting on July 29th. We had speakers from USPCN and Jews for Justice in Palestine. Basically, we were demanding that the city drop Boeing from a supporter of the Air and Water Show. Our position was that no company that is profiting off of slaughter should have any role in city events. And that was kind of building up to the Air and Water Show itself, where we also held a press conference and a die-in with the coalition to shut down Guantanamo. We were trying to hold Boeing accountable for its role in Israel's brutal assault. And throughout the campaign, we've been really trying to change the perception of Boeing from, just like an innocent airline, civilian airline provider, to an actual war profiteer that has blood on its hands. So the siege is now over. It ended in a ceasefire. But our war here is also continues. So we will keep fighting Boeing, just as we will keep attacking the powerful supporters and suppliers of the Israeli occupation, because our work here really goes hand in hand with the resistance, the struggle, and the ultimate victory of the Palestinians.